Welcome to Smack This, the unofficial Godsmack podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Humphrey, and this is episode 3, where we talk all things Godsmack on every episode. So, in Godsmack news this week, they actually announced another show, which is exciting because I think that's fantastic. The more shows, the better that is for me. Hopefully, they'll come here. Ocean City, Maryland, September the 17th is where they're going, along with the Boston show and the Vegas show, and now in October, the European tour as well. So that's it for this week on Godsmack News. Now let's talk about episode 3, and what we're really here to talk about is the debut album, Godsmack. I'm going to go track by track, and I want to hear from you guys. So, let's go back in time, like the 1,000 horsepower song says, back to 1995. But we're going to go a little bit further than that. Let's talk about Sully because he's the one that formed the band, Sully Erna. He had a long music career before he formed Godsmack. He was in a bunch of different bands. He was actually the drummer in those bands. He wasn't the singer or songwriter. He recorded an album with a band called Strip Mind, and they thought they were going to go somewhere, but they didn't. So he actually quit the music business. He cut his hair real short. He actually got a 9 to 5 job. Um, but it wasn't until one of his friends died of an overdose. He actually wrote lyrics to a song, and it hit him really emotionally. And it also sparked the music bug back in him. So he calls up Robbie Morrell, who's the bass player, and he says, I'm going to form this band, but I'm not going to play the drums. I'm actually going to sing. So Robbie basically laughs in his face and says, yeah, right, okay. So they end up forming this band. And originally it was Robbie, Sully, and a drummer called Tommy Stewart, who was well known in the first 2 Godsmack albums. And then uh, a guitar player called Lee Richards, and they were doing the club stuff. Tommy ends up leaving the band because he doesn't think they're actually going to go anywhere. Lee Richards leaves because he finds out he's a dad now, so he wants to be home and take care of his family, which I applaud. I think that's fantastic. And then, so they bring in Tony Rambola on guitar. Now, also during this time, they were recording an independent record called All Wound Up. So, so they didn't have a drummer. So Sully decides, hey, I'm a drummer. I'm going to play all the drum parts and sing. And he did. Now, they end up getting a new drummer called Jimmy DiArco to play. Although he doesn't play anything on the album, he's actually credited on the album, and Sully even puts his picture in the album cover, or the inside of the album cover. And they continue on. Jimmy ends up getting fired or leaves, I can't remember. And then I guess according to who he asks. And then they bring back Tommy Stewart. Now they end up getting signed to a record label, Universal Republic. And what they did was they did some changes between All Wound Up and the debut album. So I'm going to tell you what the track listing on All Wound Up is and tell you what the differences between those 2 albums are. So on All Wound Up, you have track 1 is Moon Baby, track 2 is Immune, track 3 is Time Bomb, track 4 is Keep Away, track 5 is Situation, track 6 is Stress, track 7 is Bad Religion, track 8 is Get Up, Get Out, Track 9 is Now or Never. Track 10 is Going Down. That's a key one. And track 11 is Voodoo. Now, they take away Going Down. That actually ends up going to the second album, Awake. And you're probably saying, well, where's Whatever? Well, after they recorded All Wound Up, Sully and Tony actually write another song, a new song called Whatever. So they recorded that and released it as a CD single during that time. So what they did was go to these local record stores that were selling All Wound Up, and when they were doing shows selling All Wound Up, they rubber band the actual CD single to the CD. So basically, you got two CDs for the price of one. So that's what happened. Now, when they got signed, they actually changed the debut album from All Wound Up. And what they did was, like I said, they took away Going Down. And on Get Up, Get Out, what they did was it was actually a longer intro on All Wound Up. And they split it into two songs. They actually made it into an instrumental called Someone in London. And we'll talk about that track later. Now, the album was produced by Sully and a guy by the name Mudrock. It was released in August the 25th, 1998. The album spawned off four singles: Whatever, Keep Away, the smash hit Voodoo, and Bad Religion. Now, here in my hometown, they didn't play that song. So when I was going back and doing some research, I didn't know they released that as a single. It didn't get played here, so did it get played at your place? I don't know. Uh, it peaked at number 22, and it has sold 4 million albums in the United States alone. Now, we're going to go track by track on this album. So if you see me look down, I made some notes. I had listened to it all the way through twice yesterday to kind of refresh my memory. It's not an album that I go back to and listen to a lot uh, because Voodoo, Keep Away, whatever, they pretty much got played to death, or at least here they got played to death. So I much prefer the live versions of those songs because, like I said, they got played to death here on the radio. So let's talk about the album. First off, let's talk about this young lady right here. Her name is Toni Tiller. Now, what happened was Sully picked her out of a magazine and said, "That's our album cover right there." So that's how she ended up on the album cover. It was pretty simple. All right, so let's go track by track. Let's get to the fun stuff. All right, first track is Moon Baby. I love this song. This song is awesome, I think. It's got a great intro. It's kind of a spacey. It almost sounds like Houston talking to somebody, an astronaut in outer space. And it's a great way to kick off the album. Um, it's got this great middle break in it. It is just fantastic. It's hard to put into words about that song. It's just so good. The way Sully interchanges his voice. Um, and I always thought he was talking into a micro or megaphone. He can do it live and still sound the same. To switch on and off, and it's just so good. The lyrics are great. So track 2 is Whatever. Now, this is the first song I ever heard by them on the radio, and this is kind of what got me on their radar. Um, it didn't make me go buy the album, though. I will say that. But it was so interesting because the bass and the drum, how they intertwine, they almost sound the same. And then you got this weird guitar lick that Tony plays that wah, wah, wah. thing. It's funny. It's to think about it now. It's just kind of weird to think, uh, what was that? But it's so good. I still like it. I still love that song. Like I said, I really like the live version of it. But for the album, it's great. Track 3. Now this is the song that made me go buy the album, and it's "Keep Away." This song is so good. The Sully intro, guitar intro, that dun, 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 is so good. I love it. Everything about this song I love. I still love it now. It's probably one of those songs I could probably listen to 100 times a day and not get sick of it. Um, Track 4 is "Time Bomb." Now this one's a little different than the others because it's a little more heavier. Um, Time Bomb has this part in the very beginning that's almost like a futuristic computer sound thing. I'm not really sure how to put it into words on that. Um, but you also got to remember back in this time, White Zombie Rob Zombie was really popular at the time, and he was doing all this interlude kind of things that went into songs. And I think they kind of like that idea and put that in the song. Not that it takes away from the song. It's just it's just a little good intro into what is this? What am I about to hear? And then you hear Sully roar, yeah, thing, and it's really good. And then now you really know what you're getting into. And it's got a great breakdown in the middle of it. That's really good. Where he kind of talks into the song. It's really fantastic. Bad Religion. Bad Religion. I looked it up. Sully said this is actually about a song about anti-abortion. So it really surprises me because when I first heard it a long time ago, I thought he was talking about something else. So it was way totally different. Um, the song has a great drum intro that Sully plays into it, and then the song just basically kicks off. It's got a great groove in it. Uh, it's almost a really good sing along song. Now we're going to go to track 6. 6 is called Immune. Now this one's got a great, and I almost forgot about it until I listened to it yesterday. Robbie's got a great bass intro into this. It's really good. So if you play bass, you might want to listen to this intro because it's really good. Um, Now through the song, there's some talking part at the very beginning of the song. It actually comes from a movie called No Escape. So I might have to go back and watch this movie. The song overall is fantastic. Again, I think it's a great song. Um, Now, track 7 is Someone in London. Now, this one, like I said, was actually one song. They sliced it and made it into two songs. So, Someone in London is an instrumental. It's about 2 minutes long, if that. You hear some talking noises, some scuffling around, and I always thought it was Sully, but when I re-listened to it and really listened to it again, it's actually Tony, I'm pretty sure, talking to probably Sully in the control room. And it's actually kind of neat to hear. And then this great instrumental is it's not my favorite instrumental by them, but it's my second one. I'll tell you about my favorite instrumental on next week's episode. So there's a hint. Yeah, I've already said it's on the way. So there you go. So and then that launches into Get Up, Get Out on track 8. Now this one is absolutely fantastic. It's got a great guitar intro in it, and it really shows you the mood of what this song's going to be about. The drums, oh my goodness, the drums in this song is so good. Um, in fact, when they start touring on this album, they actually Tommy is playing drums, and like I was saying about the Battle of the Drum thing with Sully and Shannon, but this was kind of like the birth of it because it was Tommy playing the drums instead of a big drum kit that Sully plays on. He actually has a really small drum kit. It's like snare drum and a couple of tom toms and a cymbal. If you've never seen it, check it out. Just Google "Get Up, Get Out" live, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It just the song is probably my favorite song on the album because it's not a single that got played to death. It's still one of those songs that's really fresh and gets you moving, gets you grooving. And so, tell me what you think about that song. Now, track 9 is Now or Never. Now, this one has an interesting kind of intro in it. It almost sounds uh, industrial. And so you kind of think one thing, kind of Nine Inch Nails ish sort of thing. But uh, then the drum intro comes in. And then you're like, okay, now we're going. So, also about this song, and I never really noticed it until, like I said, I listened to it again. It's almost an Alice in Chainish song. You can tell Sully was really influenced by Leigh Stanley and Jerry Cantrell of Alice in Chains. In the song, you can really hear it. And not that that's a bad thing, because I love Alice in Chains. They were my favorite band in the Seattle scene thing. That's the band I went to, and not so much the others. Um, and then track number 10 is Stress. Now, Stress has a great guitar intro, is amazing. And then you get this, during the song, you get this bass breakdown by Robbie. And then it kind of has this hypnotizing part in it. It's almost kind of psychedelic, I guess, is how you would word it. I don't know. It's chanting. That's a better way to describe it. And it's almost kind of daring you to drift off and just listen to it. And then it gets back to the hard rocking part. So it kind of equals itself out. It's almost kind of a roller coaster ride. It goes up and then it comes down and then it goes right back up. I think it's great. Situation. Um, it's kind of got a weird sound at the very beginning. It sounds like a copier or something. I'm really not really sure what's going on in the very beginning part of it. Uh, it's not my favorite song on the album. If I had to pick one, it would probably be this one. Um, it has that weird sound, and the band kicks in. Sully's vocals in this song is very different. It's almost kind of a nasally, although with um, I talk weird. But anyway, but so that's for me to say. You know what I mean? So it has this different singing voice, and it's kind of odd. And yeah, even back then that wasn't my favorite song, and still now, all these years later, I listened to it again all the way through, like I said, twice, and I was like, I wasn't really looking forward to hearing that song all the way through. But I had to do this report because I'm a huge fan and I give my opinion. So now, last but definitely not least, is track number 12, and that is Voodoo. Voodoo was a smash hit. When I got this album, like I said, I got it on the second single, Keep Away, and I listened to this album all the way through, at least 3 weeks straight. Uh, and I remember the first time I heard this song, I said, this song is going to be huge. And I was right because it was so different than anybody else that was putting out songs around that time. It it's got this tribal drumming in it. It's almost enchanting. You in the way Robbie has that bass uh lick in it, that doom 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 thing is so good. And then you got Tony doing this weird guitar part again, like on whatever, and it's just the lyrics and draw you in, and then it's just so good. Um, it's another one of those songs I could listen to over and over and over again, but the live version, not the recorded version, because it's like I said, it got played to death. At least here in my hometown, it did. So it's very hypnotic as well. It's one of those songs that capture your imagination, and I think that is fantastic. The actual song is about, a lot of people thought it's about drug use because it says something about sticking some snake bite into my vein. That's the lyric, and it does sound that way. But he actually said, meaning Sully said that he watched a movie by Wes Craven, Serpent in the Rainbow. I think that's right, and that was the movie that inspired that song, and it's about voodoo. So there you go. All right. So that's the album track by track, all 12 tracks. Now, my least favorite song, like I said, is Situation. It's not, even now, I still don't like that song. My favorite song on the album is Get Up, Get Out. I still love that song. Um, Although I love a lot of their songs, you'll hear in weeks to come. And so ranking the album, 1 out of 10, 10 being the best, one being the worst. It's a 10 out of 10. Even now, 24 years later, it's still a great debut album. E- from start to finish, it's really good. Um, so this week's homework, I want to hear from you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. This week's homework, you rank you rank it 1 out of 10. You tell me. What's your favorite song? What's your least favorite song on the album? Also, does it still hold up 24 years later? I think so. What about you? So, um, that's it for this week's episode. Episode 4, next week, next Thursday. And I'll talk about the second album, Awake, and go track by track. And maybe I'll have some Godsmack news. And until next week, you just got Godsmacked.